Hey guys, we have a lot going on in the American legal system right now. I'm following the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, as well as the Kessler vs. Sines Charlottesville case, related to the Unite the Right rally in 2017. In this video, I will read an excerpt from the letter written by a prisoner in America who is being held for his involvement in the January 6 events. Dear fellow Americans, I never thought I'd write a letter like this, but we're living in very different times. This is my cry for help. My name is Nathaniel Degrave, and as a nonviolent participant at the January 6th rally, I spent the last 6 months detained as a political prisoner in Pod C2B at the District of Columbia DOC, otherwise known as DC's Gitmo. Conditions here for January 6th have been inhumane. In fact, some inmates are even begging to be transferred to Guantanamo Bay, where even they have more acceptable standards. Class action lawsuits are being filed against the prison, and even the ACLU have gotten involved. Senators Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene have since attempted to gain access to the facility and inspect the conditions of the jail, only to be denied. The vile filth of what have become of our daily life is being illegally hidden from members of our own Congress. So, let me tell you about what me and many of the other January 6ers have been experiencing in DC's Gitmo. It is my hope that with media exposure and the awareness of the American public that something may be done and this never happens to anyone ever again. Our conditions. For the first 120 days in DC's Gitmo, January 6th experienced daily lockdown for 23 to 24 hours before being allowed to leave our small 11-meter square cell. The physical and mental anguish that result from this kind of severe isolation have caused many people to go on a rapid mental decline. As a result, a large percentage of us are heavily medicated with anti-anxiety and antidepressant drugs, which help to cope with the psychological and mental abuse we endure. Many times, the little recreation we do receive is stripped away if our cell isn't up to the standards of a guard on duty. This changes from day to day. January 6ers have lost rec time and out-of-cell activity. Anytime news interviews about the jail are aired on TV, people speak up about our conditions or rallies are held in our name. We'll probably have a lockdown upon the publishing of this letter, so I have already warned those I know in advance. Masks are weaponized and used against stuff, even though we never leave the facility. Officers have walked in with the sole intention of needing to write 20 to 30 disciplinary reports against January 6ers, which adversely affects our chances of release and causes loss of privileges, phone time, and commissary. Masks need to be covering both the nose and mouth at all times, or we are threatened and locked down in ourselves. January 6ers are always respectful to the employees around us, but correctional officers maintain the need to invent reasons for discipline. Privileged legal documents have been confiscated and gone missing from various cells, and highly sensitive discovery, video evidence under attorney-client privilege, is watched by employees during our legal calls. Jordan Mink, for example, had all discovery taken by ERT officers on August 23rd despite the objection of his attorney. They handcuffed him, searched his room, and proceeded to take all video evidence into possession. Additionally, legal visits take 2 to 3 weeks or more to be scheduled, leaving little time to discuss our defense and prepare for trial. The extreme medical neglect in the facility have caused a variety of adverse illnesses and disease. Some show signs of scurvy, and some even have COVID-like symptoms, but medical personnel have refused to treat it. Christopher Worrell, for example, is an inmate with cancer, who also broke his hand in prison and requires surgery. Both have been completely ignored. Federal Judge Royce Lambert got to the point where on October 12th he filed contempt of court charges against the warden of the DC DOC, claiming that Worrell's civil rights have been violated, and demanding the U.S. Attorney General inquire further about his and other possible violations. Another inmate, Peter Stager, waited 4 months to receive his CPAP breathing machine and have needed an MRI since spring, which have also been ignored by staff. The harsh, unlivable conditions of our unit have caused health hazards that defy Department of Health regulations, and on at least 5 occasions, raw sewage have overflowed our cell, causing human fecal matter to flood the floors and rooms. That's also in addition to the mold on the cell walls, as well as the rusty pipes and the dirty water that flow from these sinks. White rags turn brown when exposed to the water from our faucets. We are undergoing severe nutritional deficiency and starvation. For breakfast this morning, I received a tray of flavorless paste, 2 slices of bread, and a slice of bologna. Lunches usually consist of rice and beans, but we'll get cold chicken, beef patties if we are lucky. For dinner, we are sometimes fed a diet of cheese sandwiches, bologna and cheese 4 to 5 times per week. Without commissary, people like myself are forced to starve. I suffer from headaches and nausea on an almost regular basis from the malnutrition and constant hunger I am subjected to. I have lost almost 15 pounds since I have been detained. Our rights to personal hygiene are also totally neglected. Razors are prohibited, and inmates are forced to either go unshaved and grow long beards or use a razor-free cream that burns and irritates the skin. But many other jails have allowed the use of razors without incident. Haircuts are also prohibited from unvaccinated inmates. For me, it's been nearly 9 months. I look virtually unrecognizable in the condition I'm in. I fear even my family would not recognize me. Contact with the outside world, from legal visits to seeing loved ones, is highly restricted. After in-person visits, legal or otherwise, we are forced to undergo humiliating strip searches despite all visitors being thoroughly checked for contraband. If it's a legal visit, we are placed in 14-day quarantine with no out-of-cell time, even if your attorney is vaccinated and tests negative for Smovid. Visits with friends or family members, people make certain choices, are never allowed. As a result, many people skip critical meetings with their counsel and never get an opportunity to see friends or family. Video visitation, which is available for the rest of the jail, is restricted in the January 6th pod. Mail is delayed for months, and phone calls are limited to a maximum of pre-approved 12 numbers. If there's anyone else in your extended family or otherwise would like to call, we're pretty much out of luck. Religious services protected by the First Amendment are not provided to January 6ers. Neither are in-person classes or other activities available to the rest of the jail. An inmate named Ryan Zamsel instead attempted to organize his own Bible study inside the pod until he was viciously beaten and left for dead by correctional officers. He suffered a broken eye socket and brain damage as a result of a vicious attack. He's now permanently blind in one eye. On another occasion, Scott Fairlamp was confronted by an officer in the middle of the night and his life was threatened once the officer's body cam was disabled. Many, like myself, are afraid they could be the next victim. And last but not least, we experience racism from many guards on a daily basis, being the only white Republicans in the entire jail. The false narrative have been passed around the jail and to correctional officers that we are white supremacists. We are not. The inmate population is predominantly black, so we are at risk being here because of this false narrative. The guards are mostly liberal migrants from Africa. What? Who have been conditioned to hate us and hate America. January 6ers have been mocked, beaten, and ridiculed by guards for singing the national anthem. The correction officer despised our politics and the love we have for this country. At one point, an officer even yelled, "Yabach America," and threatened to lock us down for a week if we attempted to sing the national anthem again. I'll stop here. Mr. Degrave talks more about this specific situation, what he was doing at the Capitol at that time, how he believed he is innocent, and also how people can help him. I do think that the conditions these people are in might be surprising for many Polish people. So I want to end this video with 2 of my own thoughts. First, whatever you think of Mr. Degrave's actions that day, imagine if this exact scenario happened in the halls of power in China. How would you react to a story like this one from a Chinese prison? It's an interesting thought experiment. Second, the situation where white inmates are detained in a majority black prison held by black officers makes me think about a common thought in Poland, that Ukrainians shouldn't be allowed to become police in Poland because Poles are not willing to be brutal to other Poles, but other groups could. We are informed by our past experience of how these ethnic hatreds can grow, how unimaginably brutal they can be when things really ignite, and how dangerous it is to be a hated minority. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you guys on the 11th. Do Virginia.